So there's a lot of lures out there that just get a lot of hype, a lot of attention. You know, you may even say some are overrated, but I'm actually going to give you my list of the 7 most underrated bass lures. Now, all these baits are from really the biggest names in fishing. You know, we're talking Strike King and Roboworm, all the companies that we all use. But there's a few baits that I think kind of fly under the radar from these brands. So I'm going to list these and let me know below. I mean, am I giving away your secret bait? Do you think these baits are not good, or have you fished these baits? You know, let me know. But I'm going to jump right into it. So first one, we're going to talk about something from Strike King called the Poppin' Pad Perch. Now, I fished these for years, but really just started enjoying them this year. You know, originally I didn't see how good they can be. You know, honestly, I didn't really like a lot of the colors. You know, they've gotten a lot better, but some of the colors look like they're drawn with crayons. I mean, they're not very good finishes. You know, again, that's not the most important thing for topwater baits because a lot of times you only see the bottom of the bait. But this bait has been killing it for me this year. I love how aggressive the popping action is. Caught some really big fish on it. You can see this one has lost some paint. But yeah, it's a very good popping bait that is different than a lot of frogs. Just in how it acts, it has a lot more of a tail section instead of a regular skirt. This is more like a rubber band, rubber material, you know, so it just gives it a different look. But again, a very popping, hard popping action that really catches them. So I think this bait's kind of underrated, doesn't get a lot of attention compared to your standard frog. So Poppin' Pad Perch is number 1. And these are in no particular order, these are just as I grab them. Next one, I talked about this one a lot in my video, but this is the Lucky Craft Gunfish. You know, there's a couple different sizes, and it just doesn't get quite the same amount of attention as, you know, the Lucky Craft Sammy or, you know, any kind of walking bait. But it has a great popping, splashing action that's great for schooling fish. Very good bait that I think is very underrated. Comes in a couple sizes. I think it's a 95 and a 115 or so. A very, very good topwater bait. Since we're talking about topwaters, I'm going to jump into another one right here. So it's the Sense Dogma, and Sense really makes some killer baits. You know, they've really come on strong in the last few years with more and more stuff. I mean, now they make baits for everything. I mean, they got soft plastics. You know, the crankbaits is kind of what they were started with, but the Dogma is an awesome walking topwater. You know, this is one I was using in practice, so you could see I cut off the hooks, so I didn't catch fish. I just got strikes. But honestly, it's a lot like the old Vixen or the Repo Man. You know, the most popular topwater baits there are. Great walking action. This is a very readily available version, and I just don't think it gets talked about enough. The Dogma, this is the smaller size, and you got the 115. This is the baby bluegill, and gotta have bone. We're talking any topwater. Really, really good bait. Okay, we're gonna jump into some crankbaits. So Berkley has really come on strong with crankbaits in the last several years, or really all their hard baits. You know, you got the Stunna jerk bait. You know, of course, you got the Fritz side that everyone talks about. It's a great bait, especially for colder water. You know, that thin profile, thin vibration, great for cold water. But the one that doesn't get talked about enough, I think, is the Dredger. You know, this is the smaller one. This is a 10.5. But it's a great action, a great diving crankbait, and they have them in all different depth sizes. You know, that 10.5 says it'll dive 10.5 feet. You know, they have 17.5. They have a lot of sizes in between. And I've really caught fish on all the different ones that I've used. I think it's just something that doesn't get talked about quite enough. Good quality bait from Berkley. Again, they've really stepped up their hard bait game in the past few years. I think they've really nailed it with the hard baits that they have now, including the Dredger series, which I think doesn't get talked about enough. Then you got the Megabass Trick Darter. I mean, everybody throws the 110s. It's the most used, most copied, but the X80 Trick Darter is an awesome jerkbait that is a lot different. It's a lot smaller. Obviously, it's 80 instead of a 110, but it has a lot more erratic action. It's really good for warmer water situations, times when fish are eating small bait fish. It's a great jerkbait that I don't think gets enough attention. It's an awesome bait. I use it all the time. Really like the X80 Trick Darter from Megabass. So I guess we're kind of winding down. We're going to jump into some plastics. So everybody fishes Kitex. You can see I got a whole bunch back behind me. I got a whole bunch underneath me in the storage compartment. The Swing Impact Fat. Everybody throws them. It's been copied by everybody. But the one that I think kind of goes under the radar a little bit is the regular Swing Impact. The Skinny Impact, as I call it. So you got the little tiny ones, the 2-inchers that are great, very thin profile. And then one of my personal favorites, the 4.5 inch. So it's a lot thinner design. It looks different than all the other swim baits, and I think it has a more wide kick just because it's a a softer bait, if that makes sense. It's a thinner area, a thinner body section, so I think it gives it a little bit wider kick. So that's just my thoughts on it, and it's just something different that not everybody is throwing. These will give the fish a little bit different look, and I honestly, every time I mention this to somebody, they don't even know what I'm talking about. So I think that it's a little bit underrated. Next one is from RoboWorm. You know, obviously everybody throws RoboWorms. I mean, you look at the boxes and the boats of any pro angler, you see these bags everywhere. Everybody throws RoboWorm. I mean, it's the 4.5-inch straight tail, 6-inch straight tail. You know, they keep it generic when they're talking about their tournament recaps, but everyone's throwing a RoboWorm. But one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is the alive shad. So it looks just like a shad. It's a great profile. This is the bigger one. There's a smaller size as well. It's great on a drop shot. You could also fish this with the hover strolling technique or the mid strolling technique. There's a lot of different ways you could fish this little dude, but it's something that doesn't get talked about near enough. So that's my list. That's the 7 most underrated lures. Again, let me know below if these baits are good, if you've tried them, or if there's something else that I'm just not thinking of. But I try to think of some baits that I use a lot from the most popular brands that I really don't hear about very much. That's my list, the top 7 most underrated bass lures.